That is Kelly's fourth, Early's in 8th and Roach 10th.
It's day 3 of the Nissan International Classic, and it doesn't get any easier. The weather's better, it's warmer, the rain has stopped, I'm glad to say, in Ayr Square here in Galway, as we move out on a very hard day indeed, because there are no less than 5 climbs ahead of the riders today, and another long, long route, 126 miles before they get to Limerick. It's a very meandering route to Limerick. First of all, we head inland to Loughrea, then down along the shores of the Shannon, through places like Woodford, Killaloe, then across to Neenah. But then comes the real bite. After about 85 miles, they start to ascend silver mines, 1,000 feet high, and a very tricky and dangerous descent. Finally, it's into Limerick, where the largest crowds yet are expected on the Nissan Classic, and onto a 3.5-mile circuit, which takes them right up the centre of O'Connell Street. And let me just remind you of the positions as they leave Galway here. Phil Anderson leads, and there are 3 Irishmen in the top 10. Sean Kelly's in 4th place, Martin Early's in 8th, and of course Stephen Roach in 10th. Martin, you're having a great ride, 8th overall in the general classification, and tremendous support, of course, for Sean Kelly.
Well, I'm not going too bad for the moment. Before the Nissan, I didn't have too good form, so I'm quite happy with that. But then we can always do better. I mean, I'm not that pleased with it.
Well, of course, as we know, a race like this is all about support from the team. How's the morale within the team?
Well, the morale within the team is quite good when you think that cats are pulling out at the end of the year. But the morale is quite good. I mean, yesterday in the 20-man group, in the front there was 5 cat riders, which was quite good.
Tell me, any chat about next year?
Well, there's a few things on the road at the moment, but nothing sure for the moment.
Do you see yourself being along with Sean again next year?
Hopefully, yes.
And here is the man of granite, Phil Anderson, back with a vengeance this year. Phil, in the Nissan Classic in yellow. How's he going to go today?
Yeah, well, I've never been in yellow in Ireland before, so it's a new experience for me. But, well, still, let's say early days, not halfway through the tour yet, so still quite a few miles before here in Dublin. But, you know, I was very strong yesterday, and just hope I can keep that strength till the finish.
Who, in your opinion now, Phil, are the top contenders for this year's Nissan?
Vanderpool's going very strongly.
Yeah.
Of course, Sean Kelly's always there. I don't know, you know, it's still pretty open. You know, yesterday we saw what happened, you know, to the leader. He lost quite a few minutes, and, you know, the same thing can happen to me, same thing can happen to anybody, so you can never be too confident.
Well, we joined the action just before Loughrea, where the first hotspot sprint of the day will take place. Although nothing significant has happened yet, the fields seem a lot more lively today in the sunshine.
Well, there's Martin Early in the yellow cast colours at the moment. And all the riders here now. I think, Pat McQuaid, the weather now warmed nicely, and the riders certainly more urgency about them today.
Yeah, certainly they've started off very well now, and the sunshine, I think, has brought out the best in them. Also, we've got to bear in mind that since we've turned south, we've got the benefit of that wind which was so strong against them on the first day. So it's certainly more conducive. The racing now, as we're watching this approaching the Loughrea to the first hotspot sprint of the day. Michel Vermont there in front of Edwin van Hooydonk of the Super Complex Yoko team.
And so the field now about to contest the first hotspot sprint of the day down here in Loughrea. Remember the bonuses, small time bonuses for the first 3 riders over the line. But those of you who followed the Nissan Classic over the last few years know that those small bonuses so often have decided this great classic win. So riders now beginning to get a little bit excited here. Super Complex on the attack. And Edwin van Hooydonk is the man who seems to be riding on form for that team. For my money, I think, Pat, he's looking for the win this year.
He certainly is riding very well, although Goltz in this event is their team captain, and he's the man that has said he wants to win the event now. He's looking at sprint now for this first hotspot sprint, and it looks very much like one of the PMS riders there who took that sprint, possibly Nick Barnes, I think, just taking it there on the line from Wegmuller.
Well, Barnes, Wegmuller, and then Simon. We haven't seen him in the caption before. So getting everything started off to a good hotspot run in the little town of Loughrea. And a very nasty little right-hand corner takes them out of the town and along the shores of Loughrea, which gives the town its name.
And doesn't it look beautiful today? because the autumn minor Indian summer today, and a long straight line of riders here moving away along Loughrea.
An interesting situation developing here now. We've got this leading breakaway group. We've got a lot of attacks and a lot of 2s and 3s now on the run out from Galway trying to break away, and it wasn't really until approaching Loughrea that this group broke away now, and Martin Early's at the head of it with Thomas Wegmuller, who has been in every one of the moves so far. And of this 10-man breakaway group, Martin Early is the highest placed overall. So there could be a little Cass tactics situation being worked out here, where they're trying to get Early up into the yellow jersey and take the pressure off Kelly.
Next up is the first of the King of the Mountains climbs, and that brings them up, not a very severe one, up this incline to Hillbar, just category 4 climb.
So the start of the climb today, and another tough day in the saddle for the riders here as the group come together. Rolf Goltz there on the front, an attack there off the front of the group.
Looks like very much like a Noramo. Yes, Paul Kimmage now on the attack now on the climb. It's the first bit of action we've seen from Kimmage in this event so far, so possibly he's starting to feel his legs a bit now. The sun is bringing it out in him now. Kimmage on the attack on the Hillbar climb.
So Paul Kimmage then going clear here, chasing 4 points towards the King of the Mountains climb. And a good break by Paul here. This is the back of the group, still all together as we head out now up towards the summit.
Over they go, over the summit. And it was nice to see Paul Kimmage getting a bit of glory in his own country. But of course the big battle for the King of the Mountains on between Van der Poel and Guyant. Guyant, who wears the polka dot jersey at the moment.
So there's Kimmage still clear now, but the whole field coming up behind him here. Interesting though that Adrie van der Poel seems to be making a concerted effort here, looking for the polka dot jersey of the King of the Mountains today. He's closing the gap on Marshal Guéant at the moment.
Yes, there's certainly a great battle going on between them for this jersey. I think both have their mind set on winning this jersey and taking the overall lead when we get back to Dublin now. And another attack now from the front of the group. Another rider, PMS Dawes rider there, attacking at the front of the group now and going clear.
Well, this is Daniel Webster, in fact, breaking clear here. 29 miles into today's long stage. It's an awful long way to go, Pat, almost 100 miles. Daniel Webster, but we know him as a lone break specialist. First-year professional. I wonder whether he really is thinking of a long one, or does he want somebody to come out of that bunch?
I'm sure he probably would like some other riders to join him, but Webster, a very good time trialist, and we've known it from the past, has had a great amateur career in time trials and now is out on his own, and it's good to see him come back and have a go. On the climb, the Woodford climb now, just a little bypass off the main road before they drop down into Woodford, and it's quite a steep little climb. Not, you know, for these riders, probably not very, very difficult. It's not all that long, maybe 3/4 of a mile long, but Webster riding up it very, very smoothly.
And he certainly looks well here, but there's trouble at the back of the bunch on the narrow roads here as the riders continue to struggle. And this number 63, I think, was Henri Abadi there at the back of the race. He's in some difficulty, but this not for Daniel Webster at the front here, because this man, by the way, has been the British hill climb champion, and before he turned professional this year, he's won over 40 medals as a British champion or a placed rider in a British championship. One of them, a speciality in the hill climb, is over the top there of Woodford Hill and takes the maximum points. The rest of the bunch coming up now, and watch for the battle here between Adrie van der Poel and Marshal Guéant. Van der Poel in the green jersey there as points leader at the moment, and I don't in fact see, Pat, the polka dot jersey yet of Marshal Guéant.
Now Guéant, I think, actually wearing a tracksuit top over his polka dot jersey there. We can see him there in second place just behind Van der Poel. Van der Poel now leading out the sprint. Guéant trying to come past him, and it's a very close sprint. It's going to be very close between the two of them, but Van der Poel just holding out there and taking second place, Guéant third.
So in the King of the Mountains, as you can see, Van der Poel getting ahead of Guéant, the man who is wearing the polka dot jersey overnight, in a very interesting battle indeed.
Now that situation there, as we look at Webster here now, we've moved a little bit further along the course. The official time gap now is 9 minutes. but we're heading out towards Knocknagower, and this will be a crucial climb, the second category climb, because Adrie van der Poel has now closed to within 1 point of Marshall Gayon. And this is Darrell Webster, and he's getting the sort of gap he may have anticipated, Pat, but surely he needs some help now.
He surely should need help, but he's on the climb of Knocknagower now and riding very strongly. And a rider like him was so experienced in time trials and has ridden so many of them, as we're looking at confirmation now of the leader's gap now, 9 minutes at this stage. He can pace himself over the distance. He's ridden a 100-mile time trial in the past, and he knows how to pace himself over that distance now. Further back the field now, leaving the town of Doomgraney, we can see the main field now not really reacting, or a little bit of chasing going on. And one of the cast riders there trying to raise the speed a little bit.
Well, look at the face here of Darrell Webster, the perspiration running freely, but at last Darrell Webster, after his first year as a professional, dogged by injury. He didn't really start racing until around July this year. He's popped up with 1 time trial win over 50 miles and 1 road race win down in South Wales, and this would certainly be the great victory if it come his way. An awful long way still to go. We're now almost at the top here of Knocknagower, and Darrell Webster at the moment surely not thinking of anything more than to keep on taking the mountain points here and hope that somebody perhaps comes up to join him. And the main field led here by, I think it's Sean Yates on the front, the man who won in Tralee a year ago. Remember that breakaway? At one stage, Yates held a lead of 24 minutes before he won in Tralee by 10. I wonder now if the thought's in Darrell Webster's mind.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure he's thinking of going for home now, and it all really depends on what the reaction comes from behind us. We're watching the sprint for second place once again. Van der Poel going very close there to the TV camera, and Van der Poel now just about holding off Guyant again, taking that sprint for second place, and Guyant third, but a very, very close tussle, just about held it, I think.
Well, there's the situation there, and what's happened here with Darrell Webster at the front? And it looks to me as though his back tyre is flat. Now, is it his back wheel puncture? Now let's see how quick his team here can handle this. It's his front wheel, in fact. The front wheel is out, and this looks like a reasonable change. Webster's not panicking at all. He's sitting astride his bike. He never got off his bike, and a very good change indeed, Pat.
A very good change, probably about 10, maybe 12 seconds, and I don't think he's really lost anything there now. It just shows you what these mechanics can do when they're put to it, as we're looking at Killaloe now, and the main field crossing the bridge from Killaloe over to Ballinabber before they head out around the other side of Lough Derg.
There's the situation of the King of the Mountains. As you can see that Webster's performances today are bringing him up in the overall positions, but Van der Poel once again ahead of Marshall Guyant.
Well, that climb of Knocknagower there means that Van der Poel now holds a 1-point lead in the King of the Mountains competition, Pat. It's swung around. Gayon now is it back to second place.
Looking back now with Webster, and he's settled down and riding very, very strongly now. Nicely tucked in, hands, elbows bended, and he really now riding strong and going for home all the way.
Well, another day in the mountains here. We're over the top of the climb there now of Portrou, and Webster is really racing as strong as he was racing, in fact, when he broke away at 29 miles. And the beautiful scenery here as we look down now with the whole field very, very tightly packed together. But the speed over the ground of this bunch, it's no longer the slow ride of the last 2 days. This bunch now trying to limit a man who's taken on the best riders in the world and is certainly not now going to wait for them.
Certainly not back now with the main field, as they're sprinting for that second place again on the climb of Portrou. And it's Van der Poel leading on the sprint and taking the sprint there from Guyant again. Martin Early also in this picture.
So the confirmation is that has meant that Andrea Van der Poel is now in the lead of the King of the Mountains competition. We're now approaching Nina and the second hot spot of the day.
So there are Nina. Webster, of course, has gone through. He gets another 3 seconds time bonus. These the cheers for the main field here. And another cracking sprint from the field. And the crowds today enjoying the sunshine and shouting the Nissan Classic all the way to the line. So it looks like Brian Smith here from Scotland on the front. And is he being challenged by Eric van der Aarden? Yes, he is. And a close finish indeed. We'll wait for confirmation.
Van der Aarden gets it from Brian Smith, the Scottish amateur. An excellent result for him.
And so the happy face of Eric van der Aarden. But now let's go back up to the leader, because this is the Pat McQuaid terror of the day here. A little narrow climb taking us up to 1,000 feet. And in fact, Darrell Webster comes here now with a lead of approaching 18 minutes and only 50 miles to go to home, and 18 minutes the gap for Darrell Webster. And this sort of climb is his speciality, because short and steep is one thing, long and steep really suits Darrell Webster.
Oh, he has been a British hill climb champion on several occasions, so this type of climb is no problem to him really, although having put in so much effort in his breakaway up to now, he's certainly probably going to feel a pinch of it. And really is all down to how strong he is and how he can maintain his strength over the next 50 miles. Normally, as we've seen in the past with many professional cycle races, a rider gets a lead such as this, and then in the last 20 or 30 miles the field behind come and swoop down on him like vultures. If Webster can maintain his strength all the way to Limerick, there's a possibility, I think, that he could stay away.
Well, I think it was in the mind of Keith Lambert today that if Webster could break clear, which he certainly did, then by the time he got to Silver Mines, a steep climb, he was hoping a bunch would be here and Webster would be then in the group for the finish. I think it's worked out even better for him. There's nobody within 18 minutes of him, and all the cheers on the climb for him. Although on this climb I've caught a glimpse of Joe Kelly, in fact the brother of Sean, who's come over from Carrick-on-Shore, and it's not Sean Kelly who's leading the way up at the moment. It is in fact Darrell Webster, the Englishman from Walsall. Not too far from the summit now, and Webster quite clearly by his face, suffering of course, but enjoying the climb indeed. And over the top he goes, and that now is also going to put Webster, you know, in with a challenge in the King of the Mountains today. Now we're back here with the main field, and this, Pat, has got to be now where the group put in the attack and break the field up, otherwise Webster's going to walk away with it.
Yeah, well, this is where the race is going to be decided today, really, because this group, front group now, or the back group out of the main field, should really split on the climb, and then that group, whatever group comes forward out of the main field, should really do all the chasing after Webster. And his big problem is if a very strong group gets off the front, then they could reel him in.
And Gayon also climbing well here. The yellow jersey of Phil Anderson tucked in nicely on Gayon's shoulder. So Phil Anderson defending his lead well here, because I must tell you straight away that Darrell Webster is over 10 minutes behind overall. His lead 18. In theory at the moment, he is the overall leader of the Nissan by 8 minutes. But of course, as you see now, the field is breaking up on the climb, the reaction is setting in, and once the big boys start chasing, then we can expect that lead of Darrell Webster's over the next hour and a half to 2 hours to collapse, perhaps not completely, but certainly gravely.
A very good performance here, Phil, from Phil Anderson, which shows the strength he has got at the moment and shows his form is very good, and he certainly will be a very hard man to beat in this race, because he's up there on the most difficult climb of the race and staying up there with the climbing leader of the climbers competition, Marshall Gayan.
Two top men on form on this narrow road here. Gayon, the King of the Mountains, fighting back for his jersey, by the way, there. We're back up here with Darrell Webster, who's down the other side of Silver Mines now. He knows it's all downhill, well, almost to Limerick for him, but not for these two. They're pulling away now, about a minute from the summit for these two boys. Gayon hoping to fight back for his lead in the overall mountains. Phil Anderson, of course, thinking of greater things. He wants to consolidate now his overall lead in the Nissan Classic. And you're right, Pat McQuaid, because this year has been a great season for Anderson, winner of the Tour of Denmark, leader at the start of the season in Tirano Adriatico.
Yes, and a very good stage win yesterday, and now race leader. But what he has to be very careful of is this descent. It's a very, very dangerous descent with two very tight hairpins at the bottom. And Anderson is known as a fearless descender, and I'd be afraid he certainly want to be careful, otherwise he might find himself in the ditch.
Well, the gap is opening by these two, and again Marshall Gayon, who's having a good end to season, fourth in the World Championship in Ghent this year, and Anderson happy to follow him up the climb, because Anderson not really too worried about points for the King of the Mountains. He's more concerned with marshalling this rider here. Over the top then, Gayon gets second place, and Anderson third. That should be enough to give Marshall Gayon his lead back by the end of the day in the King of the Mountains.
So the Silver Mines always going to be significant, and as you can see, Gayon's superb performance up there in second place gives him that polka dot lead back again. Phil Anderson still very much in touch as we watch Darrell Webster head for Limerick.
And now Darrell Webster settled in again to his smooth time trialling style here. as the riders go over the top of the preem in absolute dribs and drabs here. Those that get together at the front now will concentrate on bringing back Darrell Webster. So there's Webster now, thinking of the future. These are the riders on the descent as they come gently down. That, I think, was Eric van der Arden went through here. Sean Kelly with his brakes on. And I can't notice at all here, Pat, the yellow jersey of the race leader, yet he went over the top of that climb in second place.
Yes, as we're just watching those riders coming down off the climb of the steps, Phil Anderson, who went over the top in second place, and there's still no sign of him coming through, so it really, I can't say where he is.
Big news is that Phil Anderson has punctured at a very critical time on the descent of the Silver Mines climb. This is exactly the same situation as happened to the bearer of the yellow jersey yesterday. It seems to be becoming a very unlucky garment in this year's Nissan.
Well, that's sad indeed, because in 2 days the leader appears to have gone out of the Nissan Classic, having had a puncture in the last 40 miles of the event. But we are now on the outskirts of Limerick, and the rider with no such worries about flat tyres today, at least now since he recovered from his puncture, is Darrell Webster, and his lead coming down now to just 9 minutes, Pat.
Yes, and this group behind now really chasing very, very hard. All the race favourites, with the exception of Anderson, in this chasing group, and they're really eating into that lead of Webster's at the moment.
Well, there's Martin Early now driving through, pulling through for his teammate Sean Kelly. And rumours today, in fact, that eventually the 4 Irish riders in this race may well be combining together to form a new team for next season. That's the rumour of the moment. What's going on down here at the moment? Because this looks like Webster is slowing down, Pat, and that's the assistant chief commissaire there, Jerry McDade, and they're turning him round. I think, in fact, Pat, he's gone off course.
Yes, he has. On the roundabout previous, he should have turned right, in actual fact, and he went straight on, and he has gone off course. It hasn't cost him a lot of time, but it has given this group another little bit of incentive to try and get closer to him.
Well, that's a bonus, because the lead of Webster was coming down rapidly. It was down to 9 minutes. I suspect now he's lost another couple of minutes here, because it appears that Webster is blaming others for the problem, but he's now got to get back on the course, and as sad as though it may be, the onus in all cases in international cycle racing is on the rider himself. So Webster now in Limerick City, his lead confirmed to be down to a shade over 7 minutes as he comes up now to commence 3 full circuits of the city.
Yeah, 3 4.5-mile circuits, and an absolutely amazing crowd, as always happens in Limerick City for the Nissan Classic. A huge crowd out to greet him as he goes up O'Connell Street through the finish line for the first time with 3 seconds to go.
So Darrell Webster now, and he's not going to surely now lose this race, because 7 minutes lead as he goes on for these 3 laps should be enough. The man has recovered from a flat tyre today. He's recovered from going off course, where I estimate he must have lost around 2 minutes. And now he's on the finishing circuit. And as always, Pat, the crowd here in Limerick, absolutely marvellous.
Yes, all the way around the circuit, the crowd are lined and they're greeting him. And this is going to be very good encouragement for him, because he's suffering now, obviously suffering after having been out in front for over 100 miles at this stage. And the crowd will lift him and keep him going there. So hopefully he can hold on to that lead right to the finish. And certainly I think he deserves it, and nobody would begrudge him the victory.
Well, absolutely not. A man that's taken on the best riders in the world after 2 days of stalemate. At last we found a rider with the courage to gamble on the long one, and it looks as though it might well work now, because this crowd being treated to a Darrell Webster at his very, very best. A year ruined almost by injury, his first year as a professional, and for the first 6 months he couldn't even ride the bike. But now, as the season draws to an end, Darrell Webster is going clear to what will certainly be his most impressive victory of his career. Let's have a look at the bunch at the moment. There's Webster taking a drink, while here is the bunch now coming through the finish, led by Martin Early. Eric Caritou has gone through, Van Hooydonk's gone through, and the official time gap now 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
6 minutes 30 seconds, but still a lot to do for these riders, and they really have to pull it out if they're going to catch Webster. But it's a big group, a strong group. All the strong men are there. Sean Yates now moving to the front and really driving it on. Early goes back to Van Hooydonk, also riding very well, doing his piece at the front also.
What a great rider Sean Yates, and what a great season he's having. Ever since he won in Tralee a year ago, this rider has gone from strength to strength. this year, of course, a stage win in the Tour de Spain, a marvellous stage win in the Tour de France, the race leader in Paris-Nice with a stage win. He's the man now driving that field up towards Darrell Webster as we are now out, or coming round to complete the first of 3 full circuits for Darrell here, and judging by the look on his face, almost 100 miles in the saddle, the pain now is beginning to tell.
Yes, we can see how he's changing position quite often from the bottom of the bars to the top of the bars. At this point in time, he would be finding it very difficult to get relaxed on the bike. He would have pains in his back and pains in his legs, and keeps trying to move around to try and ease the discomfort a bit. As we're looking at this long line of riders being led by the yellow jersey of Martin Early and Van Hooydonk chasing. Peter winning there, and Stephen Roach in his wheel also. Stephen Roach having made the final group. Carried to the champion of France in the blue, white and red jersey. Although he's a teammate of Sean Kelly's and in the Cast Dublin bus team, but back with the leader Webster as he comes into O'Connell Street for the second time with 2 laps to go, and is about to take this hotspot sprint.
And that's 3 seconds bonus, but Darrell Webster now is not racing for the yellow jersey. The big field has closed that gap down. His 10 minutes deficit overnight. He had that at one stage, but that's gone now. The gap is down to around 6 minutes, and all of the Cast team are now doing the chasing to try and bring him back. There's Stephen Roach, Pat.
Yes, looking very comfortable, and it's good to see the couple
miles in the saddle. The pain now is beginning to tell.
Yes, we can see how he's changing position quite often from the bottom of the bars to the top of the bars. At this point in time, he would be finding it very difficult to get relaxed on the bike. He would have pains in his back and pains in his legs, and keeps trying to move around to try and ease the discomfort a bit. As we're looking at this long line of riders being led by the yellow jersey of Martin Early and Van Hooydonk chasing. Peter winning there, and Stephen Roach in his wheel also. Stephen Roach having made the final group. Carried to the champion of France in the blue, white and red jersey. Although he's a teammate of Sean Kelly's and in the Cast Dublin bus team, but back with the leader Webster as he comes into O'Connell Street for the second time with 2 laps to go, and is about to take this hotspot sprint.
And that's 3 seconds bonus, but Darrell Webster now is not racing for the yellow jersey. The big field has closed that gap down. His 10 minutes deficit overnight. He had that at one stage, but that's gone now. The gap is down to around 6 minutes, and all of the Cast team are now doing the chasing to try and bring him back. There's Stephen Roach, Pat.
Yes, looking very comfortable, and it's good to see. The couple of days now of racing is bringing the form back to him a bit now, and it's good to see him being able to put a bit of effort in.
So don't forget that Stephen Roach has come to this race with a cyclist complaint, which is conjunctivitis. It's caused by all the dust that they keep crashing through on the open road. He's receiving again tremendous help there from Robert Miller, who has been the lieutenant of Stephen Roach all season and at times the leader of the Fagor team. But this is the man of the day, and this is probably the best team, the PMS Doors team in Britain this year. But back with the bunch here, it looks like, is it Van Hooydonk who's now leading the chase here? Miller anxious to get back to the front and chase down Darrell Webster in front. This is going to be a great finish.
All the big boys now gathering up there now and getting up around the front now. Miller moves over. Roach comes up and takes his turn at the front now. Riding very, very comfortable. As we're back now with Webster.
The crowd warming there, Pat, because they're leaning over the barriers here, cheering on the man they've seen in the lead ever since we came in to Limerick. And let's not forget where this rider broke away. 29 miles after the start of this 126-mile stage today, Webster went in the lead. But now we're seeing the riders coming up here to contest second and third place in the hotspot sprint. My goodness me, that's Malcolm Elliott gone through, and it looks like Rolf Goltz chasing him. And as they come to the line now, it's going to be close on the line. Elliott gets the bonus. That could be crucial today for the yellow jersey race.
And as always, Malcolm Elliott, a super sprinter right up there in the hot spots. And don't forget Webster, who's coming up in just about every category with this super ride today. There's the overall situation in the hot spots. Van der Arden still leads, but Webster's up into second place.
Well, Van der Arden, with 2 days to go, is making that hotspot sprint competition his for the white jersey. But now we are out on the final lap. Webster looking a little bit anxious, but the news is that, in fact, on that full circuit of Limerick, Webster has maintained exactly the same lead. So that should be enough now for Darrell Webster to win this stage. And there's no doubt in my mind that will go down in Darrell Webster's career book as the best victory of his life.
Here's Phil Anderson now in a chasing group behind the main field, just starting his last lap now. Anderson, very, very unfortunate now to puncture on that descent and put himself out of the overall classification. And he's now looking around trying to get riders to help him and trying to contain that time.
And there's the leader swinging in as Phil Anderson's group has gone out the top of this finishing straight. So the distance now is somewhere around 4 miles, the distance between Darrell Webster and the overnight race leader, Phil Anderson. How sad for the man on form, Phil Anderson, robbed certainly of the lead today by a puncture, but no such luck for Darrell Webster. This brilliant man from Walsall has come home for the greatest win of his career, and he is in tears, and why not? Tears of joy there for Darrell Webster as we now go back to that group led by Phil Anderson, the deposed leader of the Nissan Classic. And the question now is, Pat McQuaid, who will lead tonight? Because obviously Rolf Goltz, Sean Kelly, Malcolm Elliott in this group here.
Yes, and also Andrew Van der Poel. It's really going to be any one of those 4 riders because they're all very close, and it's all going to be down to the bonus points on the finish line as to who takes the jersey.
Still it's Sean Yates pulling this race along now. He's thinking of Malcolm Elliott, of course, keeping the race high. We're back looking at Phil Anderson's group, who is now, again, Anderson working all the time as he tries now to keep the deficit respectable. But there's no question now that Anderson is out of yellow. He goes through here into the lead. But the question is, who will win that sprint for second place? Because if Malcolm Elliott can win it, I think he'll be the leader. And if Sean Kelly wins it, then we're going to have to find out, because it goes to the computer with all these small seconds of time bonuses. Here's the big sprint now coming up. Kelly in the yellow jersey. And Kelly is the cast rider coming through as they swing into the home straight here. Sean Kelly in second place there as we go round the straight. As they come up now towards the straight, Sean Kelly looks to the right here. Where's number 1? A great piece of leading out by his teammate. Now Kelly goes, and Malcolm Elliott coming on the far right. This is going to be tight. Elliott on the right, but Kelly takes it on the line, and that throws everything up in the air now. Who is the overall leader of the Nissan Classic? As we'll get confirmation of the result there.
And there you see the replay. Kelly on the right and Malcolm Elliott desperately trying to get up to that line for those very, very important points. Has he got enough to take yellow tonight? Everybody's looking at their calculator. Here's Phil Anderson, undoubtedly the loser today, but still putting on a brave performance as it comes up to the line and a burst sprint again.
So Anderson then comes in, but too far behind to matter anymore in the Nissan Classic.
What about this heartbreak right at the very end where you went the wrong way?
I was very, very annoyed with a few people. It's one of those things. It's unfortunately it seems to be a frequent occurrence with in big events. People make these big blunders, but you know, it could have cost me the stage win if things had been closer. But unfortunately, it didn't. So I'm happy. But had it cost me the stage win, I would have been very, very, very annoyed.
Did it keep you out of yellow?
I don't know. I wasn't going for yellow. I was just going for the win.
And what a win it was. 3 minutes 30 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. So Darrell Webster very much the hero of Limerick tonight. And there you see Sean Kelly, Elliott next up. And here is the man who, despite the total exhaustion, the emotion is breaking through there. So a very, very happy moment in a young professional's career. Van der Arden, Eric Van der Arden there, the sprint leader, keeps the white jersey. And then we have, after that tremendous battle today, Marshall Gayont, who keeps the King of Mountains jersey. But the huge welcome, of course, here in Limerick going out for Sean Kelly, who puts on the green jersey as the points leader. So calculations still going on as to who's going to take yellow tonight. A very close situation indeed, and the whole field has closed up in overall classification. But Sean Kelly, once again, the hero of the moment in Ireland. And yellow goes to Malcolm Elliott, a very popular man in Ireland, in, of course, the ever-ready team there. And there's confirmation of the overall situation, and look how close is it. Just 2 seconds between Elliott and Kelly. Van der Poel also very much in the picture with 4 seconds behind. You had a great day.
Yes, well, it was a very good day considering the way we started out this morning. the first stage to Boyle, when Levin won the stage and he was over 30 seconds ahead, I said it would be very difficult to take the jersey from him. And then it changed about yesterday, and Anderson took it by more than 30 seconds, and I said, well, the race is, it's going to be more difficult now to take it from Anderson because he's riding very, very well at this moment. But yes, punctures the wrong time. I've eliminated the leaders each day, and if it continues tomorrow, well, then I might take over the leadership very, very easy. But I'm very happy I'm back in the race and in a good position, and the form is good but not super. But I think in the position I'm in now, like, it'll give me an extra boost, morale boost, and I'm going nearer to home, each day. I have more